Was this your question? I mean, I thought,
no, that's not the question.
I was holding my nose. I'm holding my nose,
you know, to all this press.
Let's do a segment about the Sixers. I mean, we can do a segment about the Sixers. We did
one of the best teams in all time, you know, one of the best teams in all the history of NBA.
Let's see what about another loser.
So let's get back to the point. So Charles Barkley once very adamantly said in a very famous Nike commercial, "I am not a role model. I am not paid to babysit your kids. I am not here so that Alan, your two sons, can look up to me and say that when I grow up I want to be like Charles Barkley. I'm a basketball player. I'm paid to score points. I'm paid to get rebounds, and I'm paid to sell sneakers." We had a earlier segment talking about Derek Fisher and Matt Barnes, and Jeremy, you brought up the point of social media and how that allows things to erupt. You see athletes like LeBron James and some that are very vocal about what's going on in the world, what's going on geopolitically, what's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement, what's going on with social injustice. Is it LeBron James, Michael Jordan, the Kevin Durant, the Peyton Mannings, the elite creme de la creme athletes, is it their job to care about social issues, or is it irrelevant?
Well, let me just say first, Barkley said that whole "I'm not a role model," I believe after he left the Sixers. So, you know, he left his good stints back in Philly, which tends to happen a lot. But anyway, moving on past that.
Man, are you crazy? Have you ever been to a game at the Vet? You heard about role models? I've been to games at the Vet, and I saw a lot of non-role models.
That's why they tore down the Vet. That's why they tore down the
Vet. In front of the Spectrum and the Vet.
Right.
But go on.
The Vet is no more. The Vet is no more. It's now the Link, and all of these vulgarities and poor behavior have us in a much cleaner and updated environment.
Yeah, they have a jail cell. They have a jail cell in the basement. But go on.
They have a jail cell. Anyway, all right, let's stay on topic. All right, so listen, you know, I got to be honest with you. That whole statement, "I'm not a role model," to me, it's probably one of the most absurd and naive statements, and maybe even ignorant statements, or not ignorant, but maybe a sign of immaturity that I think one person can say. And this is why I say that. Whether you want to be a role model or not is one thing. And I think what Barkley is saying that, you know, maybe he is, you know, maybe he was, and there's a lot of ways to interpret it, maybe he's instructing parents not to, you know, let your children idolize him. But to think that any individual has no influence or doesn't have people who look up to them or look at them and learn lessons from their actions is a sign of ignorance. I mean, you, James, you, Alan, I mean, we all know, we can all imagine people in our sphere of influence, no matter how big or how small, where people look to us to be an example of something. No matter what it is that you do, maybe it's professionally, maybe it's as a father like Alan and I are, or as a business owner, business runner, leader like you are, James. I mean, and the list goes on. There's spiritual leaders as we look at pastors in the Advent, and not even Adventist church, but all denominations. Mm-hmm. We look up to people, regardless whether we ask for it or not. So, you know, for Barkley to say, you know, I'm not a role model, it is not all of a sudden abdicate him of that responsibility of what it means to live in the public eye. And unfortunately, whether you want it or not, and I don't care if someone says I'm not a role model, people are still going to look up to you. You know, so it doesn't make a difference what you say. But whether so he can go on television and make a commercial and say that, people are still going to be influenced by what he says. And to me, it just suggests that he is trying to excuse whatever maybe ill-advised decisions that he made and say, don't do this because I can play basketball. Well, it's not just about you playing basketball. It's about the fact that people look at you and they admire you for whatever reason. And so I think no matter how smart you are or how dumb you think you are, any person, you have a sphere of influence that people are led by. I mean, and just because, okay, we can clearly say Barack Obama is a role model. Did he ask to be a role model? he didn't ask to be a role model, but he is a role model, and we see him as such because he is the president of the United States, is a very respected position to be in. But everyone has a position of influence that they yield over people, and people look up to them and base their lives, base their ideas off of what they do. So listen. And let me just conclude here. So as we expand and we look at LeBron James and other people who are participating in social movements, social political movements, listen, I support that. Now, I don't think it is required that they do that. If you don't feel a specific tugging in this area to say I need to, express my voice in the Black Lives Matter, or I need to express my voice on domestic violence, or whatever the case, a number of issues. If you don't feel impressed to do that, then don't do it. But if LeBron James feels on his heart that, listen, I want to speak about the Sarah Bland case, which he did, or how a lot of the NBA players wore the I Can't Breathe T-shirt, if they felt so powerful about these issues that they wanted to step in, then absolutely step in, because they are role models, because they have a sphere of influence. And that sphere of influence is made clear by the response that people have. People start talking about it. People say, why are they wearing these shirts? So they are using their position for something they believe in. And if they believe in it, then absolutely they should do it. If they don't believe in it, then don't do it. But it's the calling, I think, of all of life. When you live, you have the responsibility to speak if it's on your heart.
Yeah, I mean, to Barkley, I mean, I don't even know if Barkley really felt that way. When I see him nowadays, as a commentator, you really get to see what kind of person he probably really is. He's kind of funny. He always talks about people that he admired and looked up to. So I think he understood what that was. I just think it was a brilliant marketing campaign.
Marketing.
Mm-hmm. I just think Nike they made him the anti-Jordan. Jordan was, I want to be like Mike. If I could be like Mike, and then Barkley said, well, I'm going to be the villain. I don't want to be like you. I'm not trying to be like me. I'm going to live my life the way I want to. And truthfully, that marketing campaign really turned Barkley into the global icon he is today, because he's the one guy in the world who can say whatever he wants about white people, about black people, about
no repercussions at all.
Ain't no repercussions at all. That's just Barkley being Barkley.
Mm-hmm. No suspensions, nothing.
It's almost as if society has just granted him immunity from any type of scrutiny, because he's Barkley. It's Barkley being Barkley. And it's funny is my grandfather. I hope he listens to this, because my grandpa Fred, we have this conversation, and he always tells me that he thinks that Barkley's dumb, and that he's a bad representation on TV. Or he always says stupid stuff, and I always tell him Barkley is a genius. He is playing everybody. This dude is big. He does college basketball. Do you really think that Charles Barkley is sitting around all year watching all these college basketball games and all these NBA games?
Right.
They just want him for his personality. Watch this 20-minute or 30-minute highlight reel with all the stats you need to know about who the best player is. I mean, I think he's a genius. Anybody that can make money off of being them, to me,
he's not watching that
genius.
Creighton-Wichita State game, definitely.
Right.
In the middle of the season.
But then when the tournament comes around, he acts like he knows about all these players. I mean, it's a brilliant campaign. So I really don't think he felt like that. I think the people in his community, when he went back home, so I think he's from Leeds, Alabama, when he went back home, I'm sure he was a mentor to kids. I'm sure that people looked up to him. I'm sure he was a good dude. I ain't really never heard nobody have too many bad things to say about Barkley in that regard. But in general, when it comes to athletes being socially conscious, it's certainly not a requirement. It doesn't mean it. Nobody's saying that just because you can dribble a ball better than somebody else, or because you can throw a ball farther than someone else, that you have to be obligated to take on things that don't really have anything to do with your profession. But I just look at you as a person. I just think they're like regular people. If you want to be involved in those things and you want to make your voice heard and you want to use your influence to bring about change, then that makes you a dope person to me. That makes you that makes you different than the guy who wouldn't do that. That makes you different from Michael Jordan. And to me, truthfully, that's where LeBron is going to end. Hello. He won't separate himself. I'm sorry, I hit the mute button. But what I was saying was LeBron, where he can separate himself from Michael Jordan, is not on the basketball court. It's not in selling sneakers. It's in doing things differently than anybody's ever done it before. By taking all this power he's doing putting it into the players' hands to bring about major change and bigger contracts and just doing things differently, by empowering all his young black homies who he grew up with, instead of going out and hiring people he doesn't even know and put money in their pockets, putting people in positions to succeed and do it. To me, that's the best social change to me that LeBron could do. And I love how he's doing it because he's vocal about it, and then every once in a while he gets involved in one of these movements. I mean, he can't get involved in there's a tragedy every single day in America. Right. Nowadays with social media, it's on every single time. You can see it anytime you want to see it. And so I can't expect these guys to get up and, say something every time. But at the same time, I think they should use the power that they have to bring about social change if those things matter to them. And if it don't matter to them, then I just judge you for that. I just look at you as a dude like Jordan. I love Jordan as a hooper, and that's it, really. And he makes great sneakers. You know what I'm saying? But right. I don't get with him. I don't get down.
He makes great sneakers made by kids in Indonesia for 7 cents a day, and you have at least 25 pairs, and I have about a dozen pairs myself. I don't know if Jeremy's a chorale performer, so I think that he probably wears more of a fancy type of attire, probably some Prada or some Louis, but
no, that is amazing. You're not listening, dude. I got 3 kids, man. I got 3 kids. What we talking about?
True. But that is a major issue. I mean, you see Jordan gets ripped a lot. You hear a lot of lies on. I don't believe everything I read on the internet. I mean, half of it is false. The other half is embellished. But I've heard things that Jordan is very aware of what's going on in some of those sweatshops. I've heard that Jordan is invested in prisons. I don't know if that's true. But Jordan kind of positions himself as someone that's really about the dollar. I mean, he's never really stepped up and said anything about an issue. I think that
he's a bottom line guy, man.
He's a bottom line guy.
He's in it, but you got to think though, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but Mike is in that realm of big billionaire. Like, yeah, he doesn't see color anymore and
right.
Issues. He's thinking about how can I make more money. It's pure greed. And truthfully, that's what made him such a great baller. One wasn't enough. He wanted them all. He wanted to just keep going. And so, I mean, that's what made him a great basketball player. But that's also what probably makes him I love you, Mike, but probably makes him in some ways a terrible person.
Right. I do think that the black athlete, especially, has to have a level of social consciousness. Because you see what happened to Cephalosha. I mean, you see black athletes have gotten hemmed up by the police. They've been on the wrong side of the barrel of a gun. They've been on the wrong side of the things that are stirring up unrest throughout the United States. I mean, this Black Lives Matter movement, that stuff is real. I mean, there's stuff going on in the streets. You live in Cleveland. There was a recent thing that LeBron James commented about, which very sad, a drive-by shooting that ended up killing a very, very small child. You have the whole Tamir issue. This stuff is real.
It's been a war zone here, man. It's been a war zone. It's been one of the bloodiest summers in Cleveland history. Even though a lot of great things are going on in the city, there's been a drug war in certain areas of the city, man. It's been crazy. And, you're literally seeing, Black Lives Matter when we do it to ourselves, and when, it's at the hands of law enforcement. I mean, and it's just that what's been happening is crazy, man. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's important that a LeBron who's in this community, he doesn't have to do it, but man, he gets big ups from me for being willing to jump out there and put his neck out there and say, I'll put my neck out there. Yeah, this is what I said. Right. So, well, I'm LeBron James. What you're not gonna come to the finals when I'm playing? You're not gonna come to you're not gonna buy my jerseys or my shoes? Yeah, right. this is a commercial society, man. Like, he knows that he's powerful enough to kind of do what he wants to do, and he's using his power that way. I like that.
Advent Sports Network is a 503c charity. All advertising proceeds from the Lance J Radio Show are used to fund nationwide youth sports programs and the Advent Sports Network Mentorship and Development Institute, which provides opportunities for young aspiring Christian journalists to cover athletic events and produce sports-related programming.